Hi, and welcome to this edition of Oxford Empowered. And we are here to empower you with stories from people and inspiration from all around the world. And today, our inspired guest is Alison Arngrim. And you'll remember her from Little House on the Prairie as Little Nasty Nellie. And Nasty Nellie has all grown up and she's done some fabulous and amazing things since her time on Little House on the Prairie. And so we're pleased to introduce you to Alison Arngrim. Hi, Alison.
Hello, how are you?
We're fabulous and we're so happy to have you here. I have to confess, I love your first name. It's the same as my daughter's.
Oh, we love now. Do you spell it with one L or two?
For a two-elder.
Okay, two. I'm a one L-er, so there you
Yes. Well, that's close anyway. But anyway, it's lovely to have you here. And it's amazing that Little House on the Prairie has inspired so many people through the generations, and it's still in constant replay around the world, isn't it?
It's absolutely, it's in I think 140 countries. It really is everywhere. I mean, now here it's on all the stations from, was it PAX, Cozy TV, MeTV, but it's also streaming on Amazon. So anyone has
Really?
Amazon can watch all 9 seasons, and of course the DVDs and the Blu-rays. But it's also in all these countries. It's been running in France every day at noon for 46 years. So it's just kind of like constant. And I get mail and Facebook messages from all over the world. I mean, when I read on Facebook, I see people have signed in from Jakarta and Sri Lanka and Switzerland. It's pretty good.
That is excellent. It's a small world, and when you have a character like Nellie Olson that was so iconic. I mean, the ringlets and the spoiled demeanor and the nastiness that just came out. Of course, that sort of character has longevity. And how has that impacted your life moving forward? Could you share, please?
Oh yeah, well, obviously, all actors say when they get a part that they want the audience to suspend disbelief and think that it's real and feel that they're really inhabiting a real person and that people will think they're really like that. And except that actually happened to me. So
Oh,
maybe
wow.
it's not the greatest idea. It's like, no, I want to do that. And like, oh yeah, well, okay, well then I've done that apparently. The number of people who really, I mean, Little House, people respond to Little House on the Prairie in a very emotional level. It's that kind of show.
Mhm.
So with Nellie, it's the same. People think that this is real. I've had people throw, I got hit with a cup of orange soda during a parade, Christmas no less. I've had people really react strongly. I've had people who are afraid of me, people who hate me. It's now, we just had our 45th anniversary back in 2019. We're coming up on our 50th. So I still, I mean, my husband, when people find out he's married to me, they're like, married to her. What's that like? So it's so people really have attached to it to the point they think it's real. Now, some people who are completely sane and understand that TV is not real do get it, but even they are like, ah, God, you were awful. So it really made an impression. And now with the internet, there's all these internet memes and things on Facebook where like my picture and King Joffrey from Game of Thrones, it's like evil has a face. So they're sort of like tying Nellie to other characters. My favorite was the one where they had the really picture of me, and it said if the year 2020 was a person.
Oh,
I'm like,
goodness.
good
Oh,
point.
my.
It was
Well, talk about staying power.
right? I mean, who expects that to happen when you're a child actor and you do a show? You go,
Yeah.
well, it's a great show, and now we're done, and we're all going to go on to other things. And we did a bunch of stuff. We all went on, did other TV shows and movies, but certain things just stuck. And the idea that I'd be sitting here in 2021 and going on Facebook and seeing my face, but if 2020 had a face, and you're like, well, they are right.
Join us right after this message for more of the stories of Little House on the Prairie and Alison Arngrim. But your face and your character really was an alter ego to who you really were at the time when you were a child, right?
Right, because 12 when I started, but when you're a teenager, and who likes being told what to do when they're a teenager? And here you're on a series where you're being directed and so, and then of course I had my childhood. I'd been the victim of abuse and bullying and everything else, and terribly shy and ugh. And so suddenly I'm playing this character that everyone's afraid of. And
Mm.
that was a nice switch because now suddenly people were afraid of me and I didn't have to back away from them. And so it was very weird that I, who was this wouldn't say boo to a mouse shy person who's playing this terrifying, awful girl. It was kind of like, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Right, right, right. But it was actually a catharsis, wasn't it, in your life at the time?
Oh God, yeah, because with Nellie, I was able to let out all hostilities and the yelling and the screaming and the throwing things and the breaking stuff to be able to do that, to go to work and scream at people all day and throw things. Who gets to do that? And it was incredible because this just allowed me to vent. I mean, that's the thing. People who have PTSD were just children. There's all this rage and anger people hold inside that's very, very toxic and very bad for you. I had this once in a lifetime unusual opportunity to vent all this at a fairly, I mean, during adolescence at a very early age, to literally scream and yell and be angry, exhibit anger all day long in this character and throw things. It was fantastic. I mean, my blood pressure is marvelous. It's been so low. It's
That is excellent. And your iconic hair, was that your hair?
God, no. They tried curling my hair for, oh gosh, I want to say 6 months, like the first few, like if you watch, you can see like Country Girls, Town Party Country Bar. It's clearly my hair because it's like, my hair doesn't really, it took me like 3 hours to get it to do this. Like it doesn't want to hold a curl. And what they did is I literally slept in, 12 years old, sleeping in curlers, slept in
Oh,
curlers, came to work at like 4:30 in the morning. And the hairdresser would do the real thing with the hot curling iron, clickety clack. It was awful. And my hair would look great for 20 minutes, but we shot outside a lot in the heat and humidity in California, and it would just start to go. And they said, this is not going to work. We're torturing her. It's taking forever to do this. We have to redo it constantly. And in this heat, it's not. So they had a wig commission, and it was very elaborate process. A guy, Ziggy Geico, is that Geike, the wig maker to Hollywood, was like, he was old then. I think he's still alive in his 90s. And he made all the
wow.
famous, he got together with Larry, the hairdresser, and then they designed it. It was like on my head. They put this thing and drew. They created the wig on my head, and it was fantastic. And of course, it was perma curled. So no matter what
Yeah.
I did, heat, humidity, go down a hill in a wheelchair, the curls never changed. So my hair stayed perfect for 7 years. But wigs are not comfortable. Wigs are meant to be worn for like a couple of hours at a party or something. This thing, a metal comb. That's why I was like, surprise, seven
Oh,
years. It just pulled everything back and it anchored it. And then they had all the pins because you can't have it coming off. But that's really, really uncomfortable. I mean, it physically hurt. And I had to wear it
oh.
for 9 hours.
That's incredible. That's incredible for such a young child to be able
That's it.
to withstand that. That's crazy.
Whenever I watch movies now or TV shows where they're in the 1800s and 1700s and there are all those period costumes and wigs, I just go, you poor thing. I know they're all in excruciating pain for hours.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of those mementos you'll never forget for sure. And
Right, right. I got marks and hands.
oh no, and your hair's still nice and thick and beautiful anyway. So you
Amazing.
survived.
Yes. And I've let it grow out. During the pandemic, I didn't go anywhere to the nail parlor, the hairdresser. And then as I got my shots and everyone started getting their shots, I went and she liked it so much. She said, I'm not cutting it back to where it was. I'm going to leave most of the length and just like, fix it up and do some highlights. So yeah, so I have whoosh pandemic hair. I got it cut once because in September I actually did a movie. And so I was able to cut it for that. And then it grew out again. My hair grows really fast, but it was almost a year.
Oh wow. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of Alison Arngrim right after this message. Wow, wow, beautiful hair though. Tell us a little bit about the characters that you worked with. How was Michael Landon to work with?
Oh, he was amazing. He was one of the funniest people, really, I ever met in my life. He enjoyed practical jokes. He liked making people crack up laughing, breaking people up during dramatic scenes. But he was absolutely a taskmaster. I mean, and remember, he was writing the show, producing the show, directing the show, doing everything, and he cast most of the people. I mean, there were a few people who read for network, as they say. You go to the suits, the network. I didn't. He just, I want her. It was like the end of that. Um, so he oversaw everything, and you had to know what you're doing. I mean, obviously we're kids, but no, we were held to a very high standard. You had to know your
Mm.
line, you had to hit your mark, you had to know what you're doing, you had to come in and act and have a character and actually put in a performance a level of an adult, or you just weren't there anymore. It just,
Mm.
your character would, as we used to say, die in a buggy crash. It would, he would just not be on the show anymore. So we had to work, and we had to do our schoolwork too. So we had 4 hours of work and 3 hours of school, and it was a lot of work. And we were expected to act like we were in a workplace, except when then Michael was like playing some horrible joke and cracking everyone up and telling bad, awful, terrible jokes to the children and making us all laugh. So we were allowed to relieve the tension and have jokes, but then it was
Okay.
like, okay, back to work. And yeah, there was no fooling around then. When it was time to work, it was time to work, and you just did it. But everyone had worked before. These were kids. I've been working since I was 5 when I got the show. I was 12 years old, and all of them had been working since they were toddlers. So, everyone knew what to do. And that's why we're able to keep that up for 9 years.
Wow, that's incredible. And are you still in contact with some of the characters and
Oh
like Melissa
God,
Sue
all of them,
Gilbert?
the actors, yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Melissa, she's in New York now, but we text. What's hilarious is everybody's on Facebook and they're on Twitter and they're all on Instagram, and several of us. I think I might be the first one on TikTok. I'm not sure. I may be the first one on TikTok, but Melissa just joined. So we're all on these things, and we all communicate, and then we have reunions. We actually managed to do 2 online cast reunions since as I said, we've had our anniversaries, the 40th anniversary, 45th. Almost the entire cast went to Walnut Grove in Minnesota, where Laura actually lived, and this huge festival. And then we did Wizard World, which is a Comic Con type thing, but they did it online, and a whole gaggle of us came on, and fans could ask us questions, then purchase pictures. And then we did one for Stars in the House for the Actors Fund for the charity, and that was marvelous. A whole bunch of us got online. And now that this is where we're getting our shots, Charlotte Stewart, who was Miss Beadle, who I'm very good friends with, she's up in Napa, and Wendy Lou Lee, who's Baby Grace. Baby Grace is played by twins.
Yeah.
Wendy
Yes.
Lou Lee. Wendy and Charlotte and I just got back from Missouri. They have a cherry blossom festival in Marshall, Missouri. It's huge, celebrities, and it also is very historical. They have all these like descendants of presidents, like George Washington's great, 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 great. And we were there live in person for several days and got to hang out together. In fact, we stayed in the same house and hung out.
Oh.
But I'm very good friends with her. And then baby Carrie lives that way. Mrs. Garvey lives down the road that way. So some of us are in the same town. Dean Butler, who I hang out with, we're going to De Smet, South Dakota in July together. And he's just on the other side of LA. But yeah, no, some of us live in the same place. We're kind of scattered around the country. But someone asked me, how many cast members do you have in your telephone, in your mobile? I have 15 people from Little House on the Prairie on speed dial.
Wow, that is so amazing.
One crew member.
Wow. That tells you about the staying power, right? It was
Right,
really
50 years
growing
later,
up.
50 years later, we have each other on speed dial, not to mention Twitter and Instagram, etc.
That is amazing. That is so good. So tell us about your time since then. You've written your memoirs, right?
Yeah. I
Tell
wrote
us about the book.
Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Nellie Olson and Learned to Love Being Hated.
That's so
That's
good.
what people call me. Confessions of a Prairie Bitch became my website, my TV, my show, my stage show, and then my book, because I literally, the first day after the first episode aired, I had to go back to school, and this girl up on the landing is like, "You bitch!" Like, thank you. And it just became this thing. I realized this is what was going to happen, and so I kind of ran with it. It's like, well, I could, shave my head, have plastic surgery, leave town. What do I do? Where do I go? So I kind of went with it. And I also, growing up, I liked movies and TV shows with the villains. I liked villains, and I went, I'm the villain. This could be cool. So I kind of ran with it. And so then the book is all about what it's like to be a child star who's hated and have people call you a bitch, and what on earth, how do you reconcile that, and how do you have like a life and dealing with, as I said, my childhood issues and the being on the show and what it was like to work with everyone and then what it's like now. So it's pretty cool. I kind of throw everything in. It's great fun.
That's awesome. It's nice to have that kind of love for what you've done, like, because it is difficult to play a character that is so reviled by so many people. And I'm sure people come up to you and like you say, throw things at you even now.
The woman, I love the story. I put it in the book. It's an introduction. This woman came up to me at an autograph show. It's a LA County Fair. Grown woman. She must have been 40 something. And she literally walked up. She was so angry. I mean, she just, her whole face was like, and she came up to me and looked at me. She didn't say hello. She didn't say good morning and said, I forgive you. And walked out. Gone. It's like, okay. Well, was that for everything? My husband was in hysterics. He said, was that for everything? Did you just get absolved like for everything you've ever done? What was that?
Join us right back in 90 seconds with more of stories from Alison Arngrim. Well, and this is the thing that's empowering about you, and why I really was inspired to have you on the TV show, is the fact that you were able to embrace this and empower yourself to move on. And because you hear some child stars, they really
Right.
get caught up in the melodrama of it, and it overrules their life. Where you really just blossomed with it.
You got to kind of take it and twist things to your own ends, to your advantage, because it is difficult when you're a little child. And obviously, yes, I got my Screen Actors Guild card when I was 5. Did I really consciously decide to be an actor at 4 when I was having pictures done? I mean, how do you sign a contract? I mean, that's one of the things. Minors aren't supposed to sign contracts, but in Hollywood, little tiny children sign contracts to be in series and in movies every day. And yes, the parents are there and a lawyer has to approve it, but really, do you think a 6-year-old, it's a binding contract? So you have this bizarre situation where you couldn't possibly have chosen your career, not in a way like you could foresee. You can barely think 3 days ahead at that age. So how are you likely to say yes, and I'd like to direct one day? I mean, you're 7. So you're choosing a career that you're not really choosing consciously. You're choosing it like a flavor of ice cream because you're 4, or your parents are totally choosing it for you, or circumstance. In this case, my family were all actors. I started going to auditions. They liked me, and it was a thing. But you're already in a job that you didn't really sit down and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go to school to learn to do it. You're just there, which is weird. And you may have a natural talent for it, but you're just kind of like, ta-da, oh, I'm here already. You're working with adults. You're held to, like I said, a little house. You're held to an adult level of quality and behavior and performance. You can be a kid up to a point, and you have time off where you can be a kid. And on Little House, they were pretty good about letting us be kids sometimes. But man, you're working with grown-ups, and you got to toe the line. So that's a very weird thing to make a kid do. And then if you grow up and your role is iconic, maybe I think some of the ones are lucky, like, well, they did a couple of movies and it didn't go anywhere, and did a couple parts, and then they changed their physical appearance drastically, moved on, and nobody knows it's them. What if, though, everybody knows it's, Mikey likes the Mikey, you're someone everybody knows. Then what? I mean, okay, you even said Nellie has grown up. Well, perfectly reasonable thing to say, but I'm almost 60 years old. So she's grown up. Yes, I'm the age of most people's grandmothers, but I should hope I have grown up. Well, I haven't really grown up. I always say, don't grow up. It's overrated. They're lying to you. But it's really weird. So, and in something in my case where I was so awful, imagine people holding you accountable and yelling at you about something you did when you were 12, and while you were pretending to be someone else, in fact. It wouldn't even be you. That's crazy. So you're in what is a completely surreal, kind of crazy setup. How do you make it okay for you? You're never going to fix it for everybody else. They're not going to stop. There's many actors go, well, I refuse to talk about the show. And how well does that work? Does that help? No, it doesn't. It's at all. So how do you take this thing as it is, as it exists, and then warp it to your advantage? Giving me a stand-up show, giving me a book, giving me, I mean, I have a weird sense of humor, so it worked out. Because I've been able to make fun of it, I've been able to turn it around so that it's something fun for me to do, and frankly, an income stream. So I've absolutely just said, well, how can but I can make this a burden, or I can use it. And there you go. You play the cards you dealt, as they say.
And you've done so many wonderful and amazing things, including child advocacy, right?
Right, because I'm the president of the board of directors of the National Association to Protect Children. And we've changed laws in multiple states, 7 or 8 states, and at the federal level to give victims a better sort of legal playing field, even up the playing field a bit, and also get funding for the specific law enforcement teams who investigate child abuse and child trafficking and child pornography. We've done so many things. We have a whole technology center because so much happens online, raising the tech for the people chasing these people, just unbelievable stuff. And we're continuing to do it. So yeah, I've been able to do things about things, which is nice. And to feel that you're impacting people and to use your fame. I see famous people all the time that could be doing more. And I'm thinking, if you're even the littlest bit famous, you could say, conserve water, plant a tree. I mean, something, save the kittens, anything. And so I think people should use their fame. You have it. It's like, what a wonderful thing to be able to do something with it. It's just, and I do think, like you said, honoring your past. I see people say, well, I'm just going to go, well, that didn't happen, and walk away from it. I don't know if that's fully healthy. I don't know. And I don't know if it's actually really possible. We say, I'm just going to pretend the first, 15 years of my life didn't happen. That doesn't really work very well. It comes back to bite you eventually. And especially when the first 15 years of your life, the first 19 years of your life were on camera, it's not going away. My father, film never dies. He was right. It's going to come back and get you. It's still part of you. It's still in there. What are you going to do with it? You have to do something with it. You can't just say, well, that didn't happen. That's not going to work. A very healthy thing, if you can actually take all the different parts of your life, even the parts you may not have liked particularly, and somehow incorporate them or find a way to use them to do something good, however we're there, that seems to be, according to the many shrinks that I had to sit in the office of for many years, a healthy approach. Incorporating things seems to be better in the long haul for you mentally than just kind of go.
Right. Well, that's the thing is we were given so many wonderful gifts through our lives. And if we don't use them, then what use are they, right?
Right. Then and then also it's boring. And why do you want to be boring and be a waste of oxygen and just sit on the couch? I mean, I like to be doing things. And if my having been, sent to work at 5 gives me some opportunity to do things that I wouldn't be able to do, well, I'm going to, do that. I get trips to France,
Yes. All good, all empowering, all inspiring. And Alison, we're thrilled to have you. So we'd love to hear a little bit in this little promo about you and your wonderful things that you do.
Well, I like to stay busy. And when the pandemic hit and everything I was doing was canceled and I was in the house, I said, well, I need to find something to do. So I said, well, I'd like to reread the Little House books. And then I thought, well, why not go online and reread them to everybody else? So every day at 1:30, still, I'm on Facebook Live on Alison Arngrim, my page, Alison Arngrim, reading Little House books. On Monday at 11:30, I'm in my kitchen doing my Who's Going to Do the Cooking instructional cooking videos. Nellie couldn't cook, but I can, and so can you. And there's a YouTube channel called Who's Going to Do the Cooking where you can look them all up. I'm on Facebook Live. I have the Alison Arngrim Show every Tuesday. That's on Facebook as well as UBN Go. My website is bonnetheads.com for all you bonnet heads. Protect.org is the wonderful nonprofit where I'm president of the board that's helping children. We do all kinds of cool stuff. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Arngrim. I'm pretty much Alison Arngrim or at Arngrim on every form of social media in existence. And I'm easy to find. You can sign up for the Nellie newsletter. But yeah, just if you visit bonnetheads.com, you'll find everything.
Thank you so very much for being with us on Oxford Empowered. And remember, everyone, you are loved and you are loved. You are blessed and you are a blessing. Bye for now.